Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Marco. I talk about films and other media, and I usually like to approach films with different type of lenses. Representation based on gender, class, race, or maybe there's a political ideology in the film that it's not very apparent, or maybe there's a philosophy in the film that you have to pick up on. So today I want to talk about specifically, the Infernal Affairs trilogy, and that one came out on Criterion Blu-ray almost about a month back. So the flash sale happened, and I picked that up, and here it is. Here's the box. This beautiful digipack, and I'll show it off a little bit. There's other YouTube videos that probably go more in depth, but I'll show my copy off. Here's the two leads right here. This one, his name is, correct me if I butcher his name, but his name is Tony Leung. If you've seen Shang-Chi, he's the villain in it. The dad, he's also in some of my favorite movies. John Woo, Hard Boiled. Let's see, Wong Kar-wai's In the Mood for Love. So he's a great actor. Uh, Tony Lau, I heard he's pretty popular in Hong Kong, but I've never seen any of his films. So if you want to recommend some of his films down in the comments below, I'd love to give it a watch. So in this case, there's also the booklet. I love the Criterion booklets, especially when they have these beautiful pictures, from the film. This is the essay. I wouldn't recommend it right away until you watch all three of them, and I'm going to talk about the film specifically and some of the themes that the writer brings up in his essay. Here's specifically the Blu-ray case, all three movies. So yeah, pretty beautiful package. So in this video specifically, I'm going to talk more about my thoughts on the story of all three versus the Blu-ray quality that a lot of Criterion reviewers do. I didn't have an issue with this Criterion release. There's a little bit of a controversy revolving the 4K remaster and the way it was. I guess there's some noise on it or denoising it. I don't know. I'll link some videos that talks more about that. For me, the quality is fine. I don't have a really fancy setup or anything like that. So, I'm going to jump into the first film, talk about the first film, and really specifically some of the themes that I think really deepen the story and make it an incredible film for me, specifically the first one. So, a little bit of background about Internal Affairs. So, it came out in 2004. It kind of revitalized the Hong Kong cinema industry. At the time, it was kind of on its downfall because I have to do a little more research on it, but apparently it's just a lot of just the films, rehashes, doing the same things, and it kind of became an oversaturated market. And then so this film kind of came in and did something new, and people were excited and interested in it. And so one of the new things that it did is it took, the Hong Kong triad gangster genre. A lot of heroic bloodshed movies like John Woo are based around the triad, and usually there's an undercover cop. He's infiltrating the gang. That's specifically a lot of roles Tony Leung has done, so he's doing that again. But in this film specifically, they decided to do a twist, and that is there's a mole inside the police, and he works for the triad, and I thought that was really interesting. It makes for a really exciting premise, and basically the whole movie you're seeing these two leads. They're trying to basically uncover one another, before the first one gets to it, and it's a game of almost cat and mouse. You're it's a movie that really takes advantage of that, and you're kind of on the edge of your seat the entire time, especially the way the film presents itself. There's a kinetic energy to the movie, especially with its editing. It's really fast paced. A lot of the scenes, the way the camera movement is, you'll see these pans, these swings, and it really keeps up with that kinetic energy. So it, I was like thoroughly engaged the entire time I was watching, and the cinematography itself, I think it's beautiful. Apparently, the cinematographer took inspiration from Wong Kar Wai, his cinematographer. I believe his name is Peter Doyle, but I might be wrong on that. But it's got that beautiful look to it. The city at night, you can see the neon glows of the light, and during the day, has this color cast of like blue greenish gray tones. So there's this kind of like grim aesthetic to the city, and all that really carries forward its theme, its main theme. So at the beginning of the film, there's this little intro, and it talks about Buddhist philosophy, and there's this idea, I guess, called continuous hell and eternal suffering. I have to do a little bit more research into it. It's really interesting, but uh, when you apply that to the film, you'll see how these characters in the film, they're all stuck in their own version of hell that they can't leave. Like Tony Leung's character, who he wants to be a police, but he's forced to basically infiltrate this triad gang. And let's see, Andy Lau's character, he's a triad member who's forced to be a cop. Though he seems to like it a little bit more at first, and you'll see the two characters kind of develop. But it kind of gives everybody, I don't know, even the city itself has its own, this sense of double identity. That's what I would call it. Because so the film, of course, it came out in 2004. That was a couple years after Britain gave back Hong Kong back to China. So it deals with post-colonial identity issues, and I know that's part of the essay as well. So it is an interesting read after you're finished watching them, and so it kind of gives you this new lens when you watch them again. And that whole idea of like double identity, it also reminds me of noir. There's a supplement on the film called Hong Kong Noir. It makes sense when you think about it, because one of the themes in a lot of noir films is the idea of fatalism. Fatalism is kind of like you're stuck in fate. There's a lot of doomed characters in noir. You'll see their downfall before it even kind of begins. You already know it's a tragedy. So in this film, you're seeing a fatalism of everybody as well. And another aspect of noir that I noticed is the concept of alienation from society. These two characters, they don't fit in where they're from. So Tony Leung's character, he's this cop stuck with the triads, and you can tell he doesn't want to be there. He's alienated. He wants to get out, and but he's got no choice. And you'll see why. There's two other main characters in there. I'm trying to think of the actor's name. One is, I believe, Anthony Wong, and he plays the superintendent. Correct me if I'm wrong. The main bad guy, I think his name is Eric Song. He plays this character Sam, and so he's the leader of like this triad gang that Tony Leung's character is working for. So you'll see them, what they're doing behind the backgrounds is there as well, and how they're controlling the two leads into basically trying to find each other out and their reasons and motivations. And so it makes for like a super engaging film already, with added depth of this whole noir and philosophy of Buddhism, and like the ending. The ending is incredible. I think everybody that's seen this movie will talk about how amazing and just out of nowhere this ending is. I don't want to ruin it if you've never seen it before, but I think it's one of the greatest endings in a Hong Kong movie, and maybe in general. And so, yeah, for me, the first film, I'd rank it about an 8 out of 10. It's such an influential movie, and as you know, if you don't know, there's a remake, Martin Scorsese, The Departed. That's a great movie on itself. I used to prefer it over the first one, but there's things that Infernal Affairs 1 does better than The Departed now that I've watched it again. And one of those things I think is the first Infernal Affairs is a little bit more light-hearted compared to the first one, I mean, the Departed is really grim throughout, like, and so it kind of loses the heart of Infernal Affairs story. And then, okay, so I want to talk about the second movie now. And the second movie, uh, it's not as interesting to me as the first one because, well, the first one it has a really definitive ending that this sequel is really unnecessary, and even more so, it's a prequel. It's not a sequel at all. So the two leads are played by younger actors, and forgive me, I don't remember the names of the two actors. They're probably in the booklet somewhere. Oh yeah, here we go. So Andy Lau's character is played by Sean Yu Manlock. I'm butchering these names. And then Tony Leung's character, he's played by the younger guy. His name is Edison Chen. I think I've heard that name before. He's probably in a couple movies that I've never noticed him in. But yeah, so this movie, it deals more with the past. So in the 10 years that both of these two were going undercover in each other's forces, and it kind of like doubles down on that theme of fatalism and eternal suffering, and just seeing how they're kind of trapped and stuck in their spots, and how they deal with it. So it's more of a character study than anything else. So it kind of adds more depth to the first film, and it also doubles down on that theme. So I mean, I think there was the only route that it could take, and so it's not a bad film in my eyes. It's just there's no tension to me. There's parts of the film where they try to set it up where, like, oh my god, are they gonna live or are they gonna die? But if you've seen the first film, it's like you know what's gonna happen. So I thought that was kind of pointless, but I don't think it's a bad film. I'd probably give it about a 6 out of 10. I don't know. I don't have too much to say about it compared to the first film. The cinematography is still beautiful. It's also more meditative than the first one, so it loses that kinetic energy, but in its place, it does a meditative pace. I guess that reflects that more character study feeling of the film. And then on to the third film, which I honestly think is better than the second one to me. I've seen discourse online where a lot of people like the second one and don't like the third one as much. And I'm the other way around. I think the third one captures that energy that the second movie kind of lost. Because, okay, so this one is a sequel again, and actually a little bit of a prequel as well. So they bring back the two leads, Andy Lau and Tony Leung again, and basically kind of deals with the repercussions of the first film, but it also kind of like adds more information by showing a little bit of before what happens in the first movie. I still don't think it's a necessary film at all, but it is fun. It's fun because they kind of bring back that cat and mouse thing that the first one did. You know, where you're trying to find out who the moles are in an organization. And I don't want to give too much away about the third film either, but it's got a really satisfying ending to me. It really doubles down and cements the theme of the original, that whole eternal suffering and continuous hell sort of thing, and I think it does a great job. So the two films, basically overall, they exist to kind of elevate the first film almost. It's a little weird, but I think that's better than making like unconnected sequels. So at least they tried, but I don't know. The third one, I'd give it a 7 out of 10 just because it was more engaging than the second one. But I can see why some people like the second one better. So overall, that's my thoughts on the trilogy. I think the first one is incredible. The second and the third one, maybe, they're not bad movies. I think you should watch them. So, it's fair for this overall package. Would I pay full price? Not really. No, I don't think anybody buys these full price, but it's worth it if you pick it up half off. Um, if there's anything else, let's see. Actually, well, I was doing a little bit of research and I found out there was an Infernal Affairs TV show in Hong Kong. That's crazy. That kind of blows my mind a little bit. I kind of want to check it out and see how it is. It takes place after the trilogy apparently, and it involves some of the cast, I guess, and some of the creators. So I'll have to check it out. And if you've seen it, let me know what you guys think of that one. And more research, I guess it's Wikipedia, so I don't know how accurate it is. It's a Korean remake as well, and I think that'd be interesting to check out. I mean, there's already the American remake of Infernal Affairs. Why not a Korean one? It could be pretty cool. It'd be interesting. Korean cinema definitely has its own flair and aesthetic that I think could lend well to that type of story. Um, so yeah, that's all I've got to say about the Infernal Affairs trilogy. Maybe you guys have seen this already. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comment. And yeah, guys, have a good one.